So thank you so much for joining me today on this workshop. We will talk about quite an interesting topic of GTM server-side tagging for B2B tech marketeers. Being honest with you, I kind of spent a lot of time thinking through like what do I want to bring in this workshop when it is related to GTM server side. Analytics developer part of me honestly wanted to bring like life hacks, step-by-step instructions, pro tips and things like that. However, after like discussing server-side GTM with the clients during this year and the last year, I realized that there is like quite a lot of misleads and misconceptions about the GTM server side. What exactly it is, how does it work, what kind of challenges and problems it can solve, and where it has no power. So this is why today I will talk about, let's say, the theoretical part of the server-side GTM. However, there would be some technical aspects. We will try to understand what this server-side is and what kind of problems does it solve. So let's kick it off. We will start with the agenda. Firstly, we will go and kind of clarify for ourselves what is the client-side GTM, the GTM that we all know, or I hope at least that we all know. And then we will kind of make a shift to the server-side GTM, so we would understand the difference between them. And I want to kind of get your credits at this stage of trust and ask you to focus at this part, because if you can like really understand what is the difference between the client-side GTM and the server-side GTM, it would be way easier to understand what are the benefits and disadvantages of the server-side GTM. And of course, I will try to bring all these concepts in quite a non-technical language. Then we will talk about the benefits of the server-side tagging. We will cover the ad blockers, overcoming browser restrictions, ITP from Apple, of course, the other benefits as well, like privacy, data ownership, and then quick spoiler that I will focus on the biggest benefit that I personally see for B2B companies. It's like data consolidation, and we will have like a live demo showing how we move like a deal in your CRM to a certain stage. We send this data to the GTM server-side container, and then from there we can split this one request to the multiple destinations, like Google Ads, GA4, LinkedIn, and so on. So after this benefits part, we will talk about the misconceptions about the server-side GTM. I made 3 main misconceptions that kind of get in my head. And then we will go into the part where we talk about like, okay, so we know the benefits and disadvantages. So now kind of how do we make a decision, or what should we consider before making the decision and migrate into the server-side GTM? Or probably we should just use the client one. It's also an option. And the last but not the least is questions and answers. So I highly encourage you, do not skip this part. If you like already joined me live today, and I really appreciate it, you probably have some like questions about the server-side GTM. Something is not clear, or maybe you would got questions during the presentation, or maybe you already like using server-side GTM and you have some technical aspects. So feel free to ask these questions. Do not skip them. Put them in the chat, and at the end, I will go through the list of these questions. Okay, so let's move on further. What is the classic client-side GTM versus server-side GTM? Firstly, like to kind of understand the concept of server-side GTM, we need to kind of remind ourselves what is the classic GTM is. In the essence, like regular GTM, it allows you quite easily, without disturbing your developers, to put some pixels or / JavaScript code on your website without no need, like again, disturbing your developers, asking them when, where to put these pixels, how they should be triggered, and so on and so on. You can just put your GTM code on the website, and in the nice interface, you can create tags and set up certain triggers for these tags. But what happens in the GTM, in the web GTM, is that these tags that you set up, it's kind of JavaScript code or pixels that belongs to the certain third-party providers. And when user meets like trigger conditions on your website and the tag fires, it sends the request from the browser of the user to the final destination endpoint, which is in this example is Google Analytics servers. And this is like important thing that when a tag fires, it sends the data to the third-party endpoint. In our case, it's analytics.google.com. And when we talk about like web tracking in general, third-party or first-party context matters a lot because first-party has way less restrictions compared to the third-party context. It could relate it to the cookies, it related to the request URLs as well. So this is, let's say, the theory. Now let's quickly take a look how exactly it looks in the real life. So if you go to Holini website, you accept the cookies and you open the console and go to the network tab. You filter it by the collect request, which stands for the GA4. You can see over here exactly the thing that I've just mentioned, that the data is sent to analytics servers. It has like ID of our GA4, right? Some other information, consent decision, which says it's granted, for example, my browser information and device info as well. So quite a lot of information is gathered, and this is what at the end allows you to see in analytics, in Google Ads, Facebook, different aspects that you get used to analyze. This is the client-side GTM. Now let's move on to the server-side GTM. If you look at this picture, it is quite similar, but there is like one extra layer, and this layer, or like it's a buffer or something like in between the browser and its final destination. However, like GTM server-side container, it is like this layer that put in between the request endpoints. So let's take a look. We have still the website, and we have client-side GTM. So first important thing, server-side GTM does not replace your client-side GTM. They work together. Then we have a tag. We still need tag. Usually it is a GA4 tag because it's kind of Google products. It have like a good integration with server-side GTM. This tag sends the data to the server. But look at this. So if previously the final destination was third-party analytics.google.com, with server-side GTM, it allows us to deal with the data in the first-party context. So it sends the data not to the third-party endpoint, but to the first-party endpoint, which is our under domain. And again, in the web tracking world, that matters a lot. It has like way less restrictions. And for example, quickly, like let's say mention that some ad blockers can block analytics.google.com, but they do not block requests that are going to the domain which belongs to your organization. So what happens next? The request is sent. It reaches your GTM server-side container. The server-side container usually hosted on cloud. It could be like your physical servers if your organization has them. It could be cloud providers like GCP, AWS, or Microsoft Azure. There you have the container which belongs to your organization. So kind of you are in charge of everything that is happening there. You can modify this request that were reached to your server-side endpoint. You can delete certain things. You can block them. You can transform them. And then you can set up some tags and send this data further to its final endpoints. And you also define on your own what are these endpoints. This is, let's say, the theoretical part. I understand it might be a bit complicated at the moment. I'll try to make it a bit easier with the live demo. So I have a regular Google Tag Manager. You probably faced this interface before many times, I hope. And we have here only one tag, which is up and running. It's a GA4 tag. So if I go to the preview mode and I open the page that I made specifically for this workshop, okay, I can take a look at the outgoing requests that we sent from the browser. So as you can see, it is quite the same request. However, here the destination is analytics one, but here the destination is server-side GTM container. So at this point, this is exactly one like this, what I showed you from the presentation. We send the information to our server. Then we have the server container. Looks quite similar. There are like a couple of new things over here. I will talk about them later on. And what we have here is that we have the incoming request. So this incoming request, it's again something that you can see from the browser. This incoming request is claimed by the GA4 client. So kind of GA4 client checked if the data was sent in the proper format. And if it is so, it claims the request. And then you can work with this request to modify it and fire certain tags on it. And then what happens further on the tags level, we fire multiple tags. So we send the data to the GA4, Google Ads conversion linker fired, remarketing tag, Facebook, Bing, and LinkedIn. So kind of in the scenario related to this picture, we sent only one request to our server. In this server, we accepted this request, and then we parse it to the multiple destinations like Google Analytics, Google Ads, and whenever other things. So that's the kind of concept of the GTM server side in a nutshell. At this stage, I want you to have in mind that it's kind of a buffer in between the user interactions on the website and the final destination where the data is sent. We are moving slightly to these benefits of server-side tagging. And now I want to start with this, that like GTM server-side can reduce the load on the page of your website. I think it's a good way to present it after what I just showed you, because if you think in reality, like in today's world, you have to deal with a lot of pixels. So you need like probably GA4, Google Ads, LinkedIn, you probably add HubSpot or some other CRM pixel on your website. You have email provider like, I don't know, Klaviyo or something, maybe Facebook and some other things. So I already counted like 6 pixels. So every time users like make a page view event on your website, these pixels fires and it creates a kind of load huge work on the browser of the user. So, and that reduces the speed of the website. But if you think for a second, in reality, it is like just page view event. And would be great if you can fire only one JavaScript code on the user browser, send it to somewhere like server-side GTM, and from there you can dispatch it to multiple destinations. So this is exactly what is happening with the server-side GTM. We, instead of firing like 6 or 7 pixels on your website, you can fire only one GA4 tag because it's well integrated with the server-side GTM. Send the data to the server, and then from the server, you dispatch it to different destinations. This is what exactly I showed you a couple of minutes ago with the server-side example. What is the outcome? I ran the test. I loaded 7 scripts that I mentioned on the client side, and I used the Google PageSpeed Insight tool for mobile devices. And as you can see, we have the performance over here of 35. That was the evaluation when I run it on the client side. However, after I moved the scripts to the server, you can see that the performance has increased. I'm not a SEO guy. Like, honestly, I'm not able to evaluate, is it like a significant improvement or something, but in the nutshell, server-side GTM allows you to reduce the load on the page and speed up your website. All right, hope things are clear with this side. Let's move on further. One of the kind of like, when I talk with the clients and if they bring up in the conversation the server-side GTM, I always try to kind of find out, okay, so like, what's the reason? Why do you think you need the server-side GTM? And one of the top answers is that you can collect more data. In a nutshell, it is true. Server-side allows you to overcome ad blockers. I would say it's one of the most popular kind of association maybe with of the server-side GTM, browser restrictions and ITP from Apple. Now we will focus and try to find out how exactly server-side GTM can help you to overcome ad blockers. And is it like happening always, like in 100% of cases? Before we can answer this question, we need to understand like how ad blockers blocks certain ads, tags, and scripts on your website. So when we talk about the Google Tag Manager, it is always loaded from googletagmanager.com and has the path of gtm.js. So if you use the client-side GTM, it is the same for everyone who using the Google Tag Manager. This code is quite, it's located in a quite obvious way, place, but you probably have never seen it. So if you have ever installed the Google Tag Manager, you probably wondered like how this small piece of code can do all these magic things. But in reality, there is like a URL where the code is located. So if you copy this in your browser and also you put the ID, you would be able to see that like there is a huge JavaScript code behind it, which is responsible for all these amazing things of the Google Tag Manager. And how does it look in the browser is that if you filter the request by GTM, you would be able to see the same thing, that it has like gtm.js and it is loaded from the Google Tag Manager. So imagine you're a developer of ad blocker. So, and you kind of decided that, okay, GTM probably always used to run the advertising pixels and things like that. It is not that like always the true, but mainly people think like that. So how would you block it? You would try to find out quite a common pattern how to block this request. So basically, if there is a request that contains Google Tag Manager or maybe gtm.js, it should be blocked. This is what happens with the client-side GTM. With the server-side GTM, there is one interesting thing that you can modify the path from where the GTM is loaded, and it could be whatever custom thing you just like want it to be. So on my example, just give me a second. I need to find it. Yep. In my example, you can see that with the server-side GTM, we can change this request URL to the custom one. And when it comes to ad blockers, which, for example, has the filtering of block and Google Tag Manager, which contains Google tagmanager.com or GTM.js, these container would not meet these filtering conditions. And as the result, it won't be blocked. Let's take a look. I run 2 tests with different ad blockers. And like also important thing that there are many ad blockers out there, and they use like different approaches how to filter out the data. And people who are doing ad blockers, they are quite smart people as well. So things can constantly change and be improved from the ad blocker perspective. But at the example over here, I use the uBlocker region, which is a quite good one. I use it on my personal browser. And you can see that GTM.js was actually blocked in the browser, in the network request. That means that my code of the GTM did not fire. And as the result, all the things that are in this GTM did not fire as well. And you did not track the user. While with my custom subdomain and request URL for the Google Tag Manager, it has fired and it loaded the GTM on the website. And in this case, most likely requests came through and were sent to my server. And then from this server, I dispatched them to multiple destinations, GA4, Google Ads, and so on and so forth. But as I mentioned, there are quite a lot of ad blockers out there, and they use different approaches how to block certain things. And in another ad blocker plus, you can see that both of my GTMs were blocked. So when people, or when you read the post in LinkedIn that's saying like server-side GTM is like a magic tool that can overcome ad blockers, the short answer, yes, it is true. It can do it. But can it do it in 100% of cases? No, it is not true. It really depends on the ad blocker and browser and the browser restrictions too. Let's move on further. Another argument that you can collect more data by reducing the impact not only of ad blockers, but also overcoming the browser restrictions. Quite the same kind of approach as with the ad blockers. There are a lot of browsers out there, and they use different approaches, how they block certain tags and scripts on the website. And in some cases, a GTM server side can overcome these restrictions, but in others, it has no power. Let's take a look. I made the test with the Brave browser, which at least I have like an association of quite a privacy-oriented browser. And they have like a really nice feature, quite convenient one, if you like privacy matters for you, that you can, in 2 clicks, just make the preference settings how certain tags or scripts should fire on that specific page. I use the feature that block trackers and ads when I visited my page that I created for this workshop. And again, the scenario that like client-side GTM was blocked. However, the server-side GTM was not blocked. And in this essence, again, if you use like a client-side GTM, you would lose your data, but with the server-side GTM, it won't happen. The data would be dispatched and sent further to your servers, and from the servers whenever you want it to be sent. However, like in 1 extra click, I changed the settings to aggressively block trackers and ads. And what had happened, guess what? Yes, both of my client and server-side GTM were blocked. So server-side GTM can definitely overcome certain browsers restrictions. And again, I'm not able to tell you like about every browser. They're quite different approaches. How do they like block things out there? But on this example of the Brave, you can see that in some cases it is doable, and in some cases it is not doable. So kind of you have from ad blockers couple of percentage of uplift from data collected. Then you also have couple of percentage of data uplift coming from overcoming browser restrictions. And this is like how at the end you come up that like within 1 month, your server-side tracking kind of reported you more data compared to your client side. All right. Hope this topic is clear as well. Then if not, put your questions, don't forget about it. Let's move on further. ITP, intelligent tracking from Apple. Like, to be honest, like Apple is a beast of its own with a lot of privacy initiatives, and I decided that like it requires an extra slide for Apple in the nutshell. And if you ask me, can server-side GTM overcome the ITP restrictions, kind of like 7 days lifespan of the cookies? Then the short answer is yes, it can. But devil is in the details, as always. It would require maintenance, setup, and making some workarounds. But before we go into this direction, let's like kind of try to find out how people get to the idea that server side is the like magic pill from like all the restrictions out there of ad blockers, browsers restrictions, and ITP in particular. So in June 2017, ITP was introduced. The point of ITP was kind of limit tracking capabilities on Apple devices and Safari so to kind of focus on the users' privacy. And originally, or like firstly when it was introduced, it was aiming only third-party cookies. Then there were quite a lot of updates, but in 2019, ATP 2.1 was launched, and I put this nice GIF here because I personally felt it like kind of Armageddon for marketeers, because this is at least how I feel it, like from LinkedIn posts and what people were writing in their blogs. But what have happened is that Apple said, all right, so now we targeting not only third-party cookies, but we are targeting first-party client cookies, and we limit them to 7 days. So what does that mean? Like if previously someone clicked on your ad, Google Ads, for example, then gclit would appear in the URL, and that would create the client-side cookie with the gclit value, and it would have a lifetime of 90 days. And if the user makes the conversion within these 90 days, it would be attributed back to Google Ads. But with this update, this cookie life was reduced to 7 days unless the user re-engaged with the website within this window. And that was like a huge problem. It was like end of the world at some point, at least I feel that like this. And in a nutshell, it created problems with attribution. Like Facebook specifically has a lot of problems with attributing the conversions because of this Apple launch. How the situation developed further? March 2020, third-party cookies are blocked. So no third-party cookies by default. And in August 2020, server-side GTM beta is released. And if you think about it, so server-side GTM, and here we have first-party client-side cookies. And with appearing of like GTM server-side, people quite quickly started to test to set up cookies, not from the browser like client side, but set up these cookies from the server. And if they do so, then they can overcome this limitation of the Apple. And this is where the hype started. So ad blockers, privacy restrictions, Google Chrome is planning to delete third-party cookies. Like, you are already late to the game. You needed server-side yesterday, but it just like appeared today, I would say. So everyone started to spread the word about it. And that was the reality, that it was able to help you to overcome the limitations, and it was able to give you like a really good uplift in terms of your conversions and getting back the attribution you get used to within like previous decades of years, let's say. But what happens further in April 2021, ATT intro, I remember myself, I've been like quite annoyed all the time. I took my wife's phone and checking like any applications, this consent banner from Apple appearing every time. But it was like also another restriction from Apple restricting how certain pixels and script can be loaded on the Apple devices. And then in March 2022, another updates come to the place where Apple says, okay, we actually now decided that we can limit first-party server-side cookies to a 7 days lifespan as well, only if they're not coming from the same IP. So like this IP thing, it's a bit technical side of it, but the point here is that 2 years later, Apple kind of addressed the problem or like the workaround that server-side GTM was given to the market, that you can overcome this limitation of February of 2019. And now kind of if you look at this and you would be like in 2020, everyone is talking about the server-side GTM. You go in, you invest the money to overcome the challenges of like ITP, for example. 2 years later, new rule is coming that limit the setup that you did to overcome this challenge. And at the end, you kind of entering this cat and mouse game. You need to constantly make some new updates, find workaround, tests, which comes with the cost to your company. And then you don't know when a new update will come up and what kind of new restrictions it will bring. Summing up this slide, you can overcome ITP restrictions or 7 lifetime of certain cookies on Apple devices. However, it would take you quite a lot of effort to make it happen. Firstly, you need to go to the server-side GTM, and then you need to make some extra configuration to make sure that your cookies are loaded from the same IP as your website hosting. Okay, so data consolidation. So this is what I personally feel like the biggest advantage of the server-side GTM for B2B tech companies. Like my colleague Alexandra made an outstanding workshop 2 weeks back about bringing offline conversions to ads platforms like GA4 and Google Ads. If you're not sure about like what are these offline data and how to make a first step in this to bring it to your ads platforms, must watch this workshop, find it on our website. But in this kind of live demo that I will show you in a second, we will try to streamline and we will make a setup where update in CRM triggers a webhook to our server-side GTM. I'd send the request to the server-side GTM, and there we listen to this request, we kind of claim it, and then we fire multiple tags. We send this data, dispatch it to multiple destinations. And I personally feel like this is very convenient and nice ways for the companies which are invested in multiple ads channels. So if you have Google Ads, LinkedIn, maybe you test in like Facebook or some other channels, you probably want to optimize these platforms towards your offline data, so your CRM information, like MQLs, SQLs, won deals, right? And if you want to make it happen and you have like 3 platforms where you need to send this information back, then you need to maintain and set up 3 implementations basically. And usually this work goes to your developers, and they have way way more like prioritized things to handle with developing your product. And the server side allows you to streamline this information. Let me prepare something to make the live demo for you. So here we will focus on our server side GTM. Okay, let me just delete everything out here. And as the CRM, I will use the Pipedrive. So what we want to do is, like, if this test deal would be moved to SQL, we want to send the data to our server. And then from this server, we want to send it to LinkedIn, Facebook, BigQuery, Google Sheets, and so on and so forth. So, okay, we have this Pipedrive. This is Google Sheets, where we also want to send data. This is my yesterday test. Let me delete it quickly. And also the BigQuery as well. One moment. Yes, so we have my yesterday test. Good. So now let's go to the Pipedrive and let's move this deal to SQL. Okay, it's done. And now I'm coming back to my server-side GTM, and you can see that we send the data as soon as the stage of the deal has been updated. We send this information to our server GTM. We have this incoming request over here, and then this request we split into the 5 sources. It's BigQuery, Facebook, LinkedIn, Google Ads, and the GA4. Google Ads failed. Okay, interesting. Let me see. Okay, well, the data has been sent. It's today's date, so all good with this demo. We send it to the Google Ads. Now from this, Google Sheets, from the Google Sheets, we can upload it to Google Ads. We can make different kind of setups. We can directly streamline this data through server side to the Google Ads, but in this demonstration purposes, it was way easier for me to configure it through the Google Sheets setup. Then we also send the data, let me reload the page, to the BigQuery. This is how you can kind of build your own analytics in the essence. You can even skip like GA4, sending data to the GA4, and from GA4 to BigQuery, you can just collect the data from the website and send it directly to the BigQuery. Interesting that I don't see this information in my BigQuery. Let me reload this page once again. It should be there. But it is not. Okay, something is not did not work well in this setup, but I see that it fired successfully. Okay, it happens, but for the demonstration purposes, it's still fine to demonstrate you how you can like consolidate or send only one request to your server side, and then from the server side you can dispatch this information to other destinations, GA4, LinkedIn, Facebook, and in this essence you don't need to firstly rely on some third-party tools like Zapier, Make, or things like that, because it might be like a privacy, let's say, question if you're okay to share your CRM data with these tools. You can dispatch it through your server-side GTM to certain endpoints. And this is, I believe, which is the biggest advantage of the server side for B2B companies. This kind of approach helped us to get like really great results with the big bank. Let's say the challenge they had is that 10 different websites online. And they also have like CRM, 10, like it's one CRM, but with the nuances of 10 different branches. And with the server side GTM, we were able to quite quickly make one setup, scale it to 10 websites, respect the nuances of flows on each website, and also import the CRM data to the GA4 and Google Ads for optimization. And again, we were able quite easily through the server-side GTM set up the flow where we can respect some nuances of the funnels in different branches. Moving on further, benefits of server-side tagging, privacy, and data security. So I would say that probably it should be like a first argument about the server-side GTM. I just find another way how to make a demonstration of server-side for you. But in essence, when you talk about the server-side GTM, it is very privacy-focused information, because when you talk about the client-side GTM and you fire pixels on your website, these pixels are JavaScript codes, right? And you never know what are under these JavaScript codes over here. There are pixels that can automatically scrap information about the users, like emails, phone numbers, addresses, and things like that, send it to these third-party vendors, and then use it for kind of better optimization of showing you more conversions. But in reality, you are in charge of what kind of data you share with the third party. It's not like Google, Meta, or someone else's responsibility. You should kind of make sure that all these third-party pixels does not collect the information you don't want to share with them. And with the server, you are sending the data to your server first, and then you can use transformations on the server-side GTM where you can allow certain parameters or you can exclude certain parameters. So, for example, you have the CRM information and you send it to the server with the email and the phone number because you want to store it in the BigQuery for whenever other ideas, maybe reporting or something. But you want to make sure that these data is not shared with Google Ads or LinkedIn or Facebook. And with the server, before you dispatch this information to these final endpoints, you can modify and make sure that this information is not shared. So this allows you to get way better control in terms of privacy and what kind of information you share with the third-party vendors. Data ownership, we kind of talked about it a little bit. With the server-side GTM, you have this possibility to decide what, where, and when to send the data. Again, when it reaches your server, this data belongs to you. So you are now in charge and have the full control to decide, do you want to share this information with someone or you don't want? This what kind of stand with the data ownership benefit of the GTM server side. Misconceptions about the server-side GTM. I made kind of 3 of them. The first one is that you can ignore consent and collect data without the consent. You cannot, in terms of a legal perspective. Technically, yes, you can, and maybe even unintentionally, you also can. However, this rule of server, kind of Vegas rule that Simo Ahava made, is that what happens in server stays in the server, and it could be used in order to become really privacy focused and respect the user's consent decision, respect what the data is shared with the third parties. It also could be used another way around in order to completely ignore all the things that are happening on the client browser and collect more data and directly violate things like GDPR and any other stuff. So you don't need to be a lawyer if you to understand that collecting data without the user consent, it is a direct violation. But it is possible, and it is quite hard to understand if you have external audit in terms of if you're like violating something, because firstly, the data is sent to your server, and like you have the control towards the server, what happened in there. And then from the server, it goes to the third-party providers. And it is quite hard to see on the browser or client side if you respect their consent decision and you like collecting more data and respect how you share this data. So I wanted here to share with you how you can unintentionally, or maybe even worse, intentionally to overcome consent with the server-side GTM. For this purpose, I need to make another preview mode in GTM. Give me a second. All right. So here, okay, now we have consent updated. I need to delete my cookies. Wait a second. So I can see the banner. Okay, so I have the banner. Now I decided I don't want you to collect any data about me and send it to the third-party vendors. So I accept necessary cookies only. When I look at my client-side GTM, I can see that my consent status is now denied. However, my GA4 tag has fired. So if you like know the details about the consent mode, Google has this advanced consent mode. Basically, it allows you to collect, or Google to collect the data, but it is anonymized. And later on, this data could be used by Google for modeling purposes to make your conversions great again. When it happens, you can fire the tags, and then this data is shared with the Google, and Google understands that it is anonymized data. The consent was denied there. But what happens with the server in this kind of scenario? That we still have the incoming request over here. It understands that our consent decision was denied because it is kind of Google stuck. They know what is happening. But without an extra configuration, you can unintentionally, or even worse, intentionally fire certain tags and send this information despite the consent was denied. Because if you think about it, Google consent mode is just like a Google thing. Facebook, LinkedIn, and others, they have no clue about it, what this GCS 100 or 111 means, and they like disrespect it. And in this essence, we just fired the tags, sent this data to third-party providers, and violated user's consent decision. Unintentionally or intentionally. So it is doable. But in reality, you cannot ignore consent and collect more data with the server-side GTM. It gives you a lot of power, and it also gives you a lot of responsibility towards how you treat the information that you collect about the users. Misconception number 2, server-side tagging transforms your third-party cookies to first-party cookies. I think I know where it comes from. Like there was a huge, a lot of posts regarding the third-party cookies are going away on Chrome this year, but and also all these server-side possibilities to overcome ad blockers, browser restrictions, ITP, kind of automatically make people think that it can also help you with the third-party cookies. But it is not true. Server-side doesn't work like that. It cannot make third-party cookies to first-party cookies. And like using the possibility, I also wanted to talk about first-party and third-party cookies, so you get a better understanding, if you still don't, about what is the difference between first-party and the third-party cookies. So first-party cookies are the one that's set by the domain that user is currently visiting. If you went to holini.com and the holini.com have set up the cookies, it is a first-party cookie. But if you went to holini.com and google.com have set up cookies on this domain, these are the third-party cookies. Let's take a look at the example. So if we go to the Holini's website, you can see that we have like holini.com cookies, and we also have quite a lot of comment from Google. These are the third-party cookies because I accepted the consent. Yes. Let me. Okay, now I need to play around a bit with the consent for a second. Yep, accepted. Okay, good. And now if I go to some news provider, I wanted to show you example on Delphi, but they are loading so many cookies that my Chrome stuck 3 times out of 3 tries. So I need to come up with something else. And then if you go to some other providers over here, and I also need to reload the consent banner. I agree. Yes. You can see that there are quite a lot of cookies set through some third-party domains. And some cookies could be shared across the domain. So I want to show you this cookie neat. This is how Google kind of understands like the audience. If you visited a certain websites and pages, let me find it. Yes, you can see that the same cookie exists on bbc.com. So these are the third-party cookies, and these cookies won't, like server-side won't make them a first-party context. They will remain third-party cookies still. So hope it is clear with this misconception. Misconception number 3. Server-side tagging completely eliminates ad blockers, browser restrictions, and ITP. I hope by now you understand that it is not true. It is not completely eliminates them. It can overcome it in certain cases, in certain browsers with the certain ad blockers, but things are changing constantly. However, like the possibility of GTM server-side to be loaded from your first-party domain allows you to, in some cases, overcome these challenges and gain more data. So you've got a couple percents there, and there, and at the end, this is how you come up with uplift of your data accuracy, like 20% or something like this. And like also, you need to remember that if you enter in or like you want to have the server-side GTM just because you want to overcome these limitations and get more data, you are entering this never-ending cat and mouse game. You make something like some setup to overcome these challenges, couple of updates from different browsers, ad blockers, Apple, and then you need to find another workaround. And it is like a never-ending game, as I just mentioned. Okay, so we can now move on to the disadvantages of the server-side tagging. If you think about it, they're quite obvious. So the cost, since server-side is hosted on the servers, which you can have like your servers, or you can rent them from Google, AWS, and other cloud providers, you need to consider that you need to pay on monthly basis for these servers. It really depends on amount of traffic that you have on the website, but I would say that the average is like $100 per month for around 3 servers, which is a recommendation, at least by the Google, to have to make the server-side setup. Another thing is the setup and maintenance. We already know that server-side GTM kind of works in combination with client-side GTM. So you still need to have like your tags and figures set up through the client-side GTM to kind of send the information to the server, or like give the sender a sign what kind of information and when should be received. And then in the server-side GTM, you also need to make a manipulation to make the tracking the server-side way and dispatch this information to the multiple destinations. And of course, things get even more complicated if you want to bring your CRM data to the server side. So that requires an extra setup and maintenance. Then tech expertise, definitely so. If you like feel even comfortable with Google Tag Manager, server-side Google Tag Manager would be quite a different beast, I would say, with the similar approach, but that would require you to get more knowledge about how does it work. You can break things unintentionally if you lack the knowledge about it. And you need to ramp up this knowledge yourself or find the partner who has the expertise in this field. And this is who we are. We have a good experience with the server-side tag and can help quite a bunch of our clients to make this migration. Then privacy risks. Just as they showed you with this consent mode, how it could be unintentionally overcome, let's say, you and like because you are doing this setup, you can make things like not properly done, and in this essence, you are in the privacy risk that you are sending the data to the third parties, violating some laws out there, and these risks are definitely there with the server side. Vendor adoption. So if you remember this time lapse of ITP for Apple, I mentioned that the server-side GTM appeared in August of 2020, so it's 4 years ago, and it is like quite new technology still. Back then, they had like only like GA4. Even Google Ads tags, which is a Google product, was not available through the server-side setup. It takes time to vendors to move on to the server side, prepare their documentation, make this setup possible. And in some cases, not all of the vendors are still ready to make the implementation of their pixels and access through the server side. And dependency on cloud services, of course. So it was like this Black Friday recently, and I just remember like a couple of years back, Google Cloud servers, which were run on the United States servers, basically were down during the Black Friday. And everyone who were using these servers just completely lost the data and the information about purchases, like all the Google Analytics, and whenever things they configured through the servers were not working. Such things also could happen. How to decide if you need it, like server-side GTM? I would like my common advice here would be focus on addressing your challenges. Do not chase the hype. This is like I personally think it's very good advice. So you need to come up with certain marketing challenges or whenever other challenges you have when you consider to move to the server-side GTM. So I kind of tried to make a couple of things that you might consider or ask yourself when you're deciding to move to the server-side GTM. So assess your business needs. Again, try just to focus on the challenges. Like, for example, are you facing data loss issues? So your CRM reports maybe like shows you more data conversions coming from ad sources compared to what you see in your ad sources. Then probably somewhere there is a gap either in tracking, or maybe you have some flow of free trials, 40 days, 1 month, where it is quite hard with all these limitations on cookies and stuff to bring these conversions back. So this is one thing to consider. Then you also need to ask yourself, like, do you manage a complex multi-channel campaigns? So this is related to this main benefit that I brought up early. Basically, if you have Google Ads, LinkedIn, and testing some other accounts, platforms like Facebook, and you need to send MQLs, SQLs, one deals, like basically your CRM data to these platforms. So you need to maintain quite a lot of infrastructure to make it happen. In some cases, it could be limited. It might be your own database. It might be CRMs, which has no native integrations like Pipedrive, for example. And in this case, server-side GTM can help you to overcome this challenge and consolidate your data streams just to the server. And then from the server, you dispatch it to the destinations where you need it. Another thing to consider is that, like, do you have a slow load time or you want to improve it? I would say it's not so like black and white. Many text and pixels still requires you to have server side and on top client side. So they kind of, if client side was blocked, we will rely on the server data. And if something gets wrong with the server, we will rely on client side data. So it is not as like obvious, but for someone moving to server side to reduce the low speed of the time could be a good argument. Evaluate your cost versus values. So you need to consider how much do you need to pay for your servers on monthly basis. Plus, you also will use the hours of your developers to make the setup and make maintenance. You probably, if you don't have opportunity to learn server side on your own, you would, and you previously had the knowledge of how to configure tags and triggers in the GTM. And now if you move to the server side, it won't be so easy and straightforward to make it happen. You would need to either find someone who can do it for you or learn how to do it on your own. Then ongoing costs. Example, hosting fees can vary with traffic volume. This is for sure. And then monitoring and debugging costs. Again, because you move the data to your servers, then you can use or do different things with this data, and that could increase the costs for you as well. And think about the potential savings and benefits. So think that if you have quite significant investment in your ads channels and you still optimize towards on-site tracking, you definitely need to bring offline tracking. And if you decided to do so and you have multiple channels, then a good way to think would be to start to make it through the server-side GTM, and you need to understand what would be the outcome of it. So you can feed the ads platforms with more relevant data for campaign optimization. And you also, from the privacy perspective, you can reduce reliance on third-party vendors as well. And you also need to consider the technical complexity. So you either need to find someone who is good in the server-side tagging or ramp up the knowledge internally to support and maintain this setup in the long run. And based on your, let's say, initial goal, so if you just want to make uplift of your conversions and you don't need have a custom setup, maybe you don't need to go and do it internally with own resources, learning on the go. You can use these one-click solutions like state.io as well. Going to the end, so what you can do now if you have decided to use server-side GTM. Before doing the server-side, I would say that you still need to think about your fundamentals. So you need to confirm your current tracking is clean, organized, and aligns with your measurement plan. You kind of make sure that you can rely or have a good fundamentals of your client-side tracking. Then second thing, validate your consent mechanism. like this is very, very common mistake or problem that people might have like banner somewhere there on the corner, which people can simply ignore. And then they say, we want the server side to get more data because we lose a lot. You firstly need to fix your consent. Server side won't help you to get more data because it's default, it's denied by the default. So make sure your consent works well. You kind of force users to accept, make a decision. Do not let them ignore the consent banner on your website. And then you can go to the next step and plan your infrastructure. So you need to understand your tech stack. Maybe you're already using some of the cloud platforms and you can host your servers out there, or maybe you have them inside your organization, I mean like physical one. So plan your infrastructure, how to move on further, and only then you should consider to have the server side tagging, like kind of a cherry on top of these strong fundamentals, because like if you have like really bad fundamentals, or they are like, sorry for saying this, shit, the cherry won't make them better for sure. All right, so we are done. We have the questions part right now. Yes, let me just take a sip of water and I will go to the questions. I hope there are some. Okay, so notes, AI notes, Martin. Yes. Okay, how is giving the user's consequences choice of block and tracking by using a browser extension or else a benefit? It is not for the user. That's a question, you know. People like have their own decision. Why do they use ad blockers? I'm not able to say like about someone else. I would maybe say about myself. I just when I'm doing my own like search or browser, I don't like to see the ads. If I want to see the ads and I'm exploring new products and features, I disable this and then I open to this world of advertisers myself. And I also watch quite a lot of YouTube, and by default, I just use ad blocker to avoid these things. And people like might have absolutely different stuff. They would like could be like super privacy oriented and just don't want this data to go somewhere out there. Okay, AI assistants. Do you use such tools as Tape.io or Taggers.io for clients to bring down their server-side costs? Why yes or no? Thanks. Yes, I had the cases where I used the Tape.io. So in this essence, let's say when deciding, so I would come up with the final endpoint of what you want to achieve with the server-side GTM. If it's like you not ready to invest a lot of time and effort into this, you have like ton of different things to do, and tagging or tracking takes like 1% of your time, Tape.io can be a good option for you to go to. A lot of features are available in one button click. It's good, but for others companies, it might the blocker might be with Tape.io that they might have like quite unique expectations from the server-side GTM, where they need to make a custom solutions, and they do not focus or stuck on third-party vendor. And like third-party vendor here as well, an important point, because for some companies rely on sending data to the third-party vendor is a problem, and they want to have the full control over the servers and host them under their own organization. All right. So thank you so much for coming, staying with me till the end. Appreciate your patience. Yes, please share the form for the feedback. Please fill in this form, put what you like and you didn't like. You also had a chance to choose the topic of our next workshop. So we would really appreciate if you can spend 2 minutes of this to fill in this form. And thanks for coming. I wish you have a happy Merry Christmas coming in and spend this time with the people you love. Take care. Cheers.